Hi, I'm Carl Schilling, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Advocacy Network. And today I wanted to discuss with you some of the really prohibitive problems here with financial victimization. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself so you'll understand my experience in the field. I have over 35 years experience in several financial services, resort real estate, and business coaching and those kinds of arenas, sales coaching as well. During that time, I've worked for or directly or consulted with such companies as Northwestern Mutual, Prudential, Metropolitan Life, Lincoln Financial Services, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Ginn Development, Playground, commonly known as IntraWest, Lennar Homes, Exit Realty, Remax, Merrill Lynch, Nightingale Conant, and Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, and many others. In fact, I was proud to be one of the first initial certified trainers for the classic Earl Nightingale Lead the Field program. During this period of time, I've also been heavily involved in public companies, doing investor relations and some other direct work on financing and raising capital. In fact, in 2009, I was able to help raise over $23 million for small cap micro cap companies and concerns. On occasion, I still do some consulting in that field. And lastly, as far as being a published author, in 2003, I wrote The Fabulous Fortunes Through Failure. And then in 2008, I was asked to join in, be a participating co-author in The Power of the Platform. Other co-authors included Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield, Dr. Tony Alessandra, and a nice list of others, very, very big in their fields. Most recently, I published You Might Be Getting Scammed, which is our really our platform book right here for the Advocacy Network, something that we do with our members. So with that being said, I want to say that entering 2017 is a very exciting time because I believe that there's a lot of confidence, especially in the business community, a lot of confidence on Wall Street and the banking and financial concerns, just a great deal of confidence and uptick in everything that's happening. So that being said, it also opens up the door for an incredible amount of opportunity for scammers and fraudsters. And believe me, when I tell you this, many people, the reason people fall victim to a lot of the scams and fraud is due to the fact that they're unaware of many of the things that are going on in the financial markets. I mean, most people are not really familiar with the regulatory issues and things that happen in the market on a daily basis. I promise you, scammers and fraudsters are heavily knowledgeable on all these areas, and they do so because in order for them to really be good at what they do, in order for them to promulgate all the scams and frauds, they need to understand the regulatory matters, and they need to understand how to stay under the radar, so to speak. Now, most of what goes on in financial victimization today, unfortunately, is what I would call reactionary services. So you've already lost at that point, and you're being educated. In essence, you're paying for your education through the hardcore losses that are received, for that education. That's the worst possible way for us to handle victimization, I believe. There's over $250 billion a year lost to all forms of financial victimization. So with that being said, everyone is exposed to this. Now, we also know that less than 17% of the victims will ever report, which means that over 4/5 of the victims never report. They never tell anybody. So these reactionary services are still of little use when they're chasing down lost money. And only pennies on the dollar are ever recovered. And yes, ultimately, sooner or later, some of the fraudsters and scammers go to jail. Absolutely. But quite frankly, that's of little value back to you, the victim, after you've lost your life savings or you've lost a good deal of your savings, your pension money, all kinds of things. So really, we're here to make sure that doesn't happen. In order to give you an idea of this, let me just show you. We're going to, I am, for the organization, I am going to become a certified fraud examiner, so that for advocacy. But I want to show you something so you get an idea just how deep regulatory issues and everything are. This is these study manuals for the fraud examiner's test. Now I want you to get a feel for that. I mean, this thing weighs about, this is a good 30 pounds, 35 pounds. Those are 2 volumes. That's well over 4,000 pages right there. Okay? Now, that gives you an idea on just how far behind the average public is. Because in order to become a certified fraud examiner, if that's the knowledge base, that has to tell you what is out there. So that's an incredible amount of information. So I want to share with you that here at Advocacy, our goal in keeping our membership base totally aware, our goal is threefold. One, it's to provide information on a regular, daily, and updated basis. That's one. Two, we want to make sure that you are fully aware of all of the practices and all of the types of manipulations that go on within scams, fraud, and especially predatory sales tactics. These are all psychological triggers. These are all based on behaviors, and we want to make sure that you understand how this process would be perpetrated on you. And third, we want to go the extra step, and this is the real meat. The extra step is your own personal behaviors about money, about the way you make financial decisions. Because as we've learned, everyone has their own bias confirmation factor. Everyone believes what they believe about money. You're no different than me in that sense. We all have our own beliefs and values about money. Those beliefs and values about money have been integrated into our life over long periods of time, and mostly through our family, most of it. Because there's very little education that goes on in the educational system about financial literacy. So therefore, everything that you've learned possibly about money and all the beliefs and values you have been passed down. And they've come through your family relationship more so than your social relationships. But over time, social relationships have a little bit of impact on what you believe to be true or not about money. But the real true crux of becoming a victim is that victims are unfortunately the perpetrator of their own victimization. And it's due to their own lack of awareness on their own bias and directed behaviors. Those behaviors are consistent, they're persistent. So when you make a decision about money, any financial decision you make, more than likely you use the identical process every single time. So whatever problems are built into your process, whatever negative bias, or whatever areas are there, you never break through. So because you never break through, people can start to read you financially. That's the danger. A scammer, a fraudster could start to read you. They know exactly how your behavior pattern will go. Now, the behavior patterns are not in the tens of thousands of behavior patterns, actually. That's why it's so easy for scammers and fraudsters to become psychologically very, very adept at understanding certain behaviors, because there's, a family of behaviors that are pretty consistent across the board. So it's pretty easy to identify a person of wealth, of extreme wealth, a person who is in the mass affluent, a person who is in the middle class, and yes, people who are even in the lower class with very little asset base and very little money, they are perpetrated upon as regularly as everybody else. So really, this crosses every demographic, but the behaviors and values within each demographic are fairly consistent. So what we want to do is make sure that the third element for you is that we give you strong financial literacy education, and we identify your personal behavior patterns so that you can reflectively not only recognize a scam and a fraud or a perpetrator a perpetrator in the sales world. Not only can you recognize it when you see it, but you can also understand your own behaviors within it, and you can make sure that it never happens. So that's really what we want to do. So over the coming days and weeks, besides our blog, I'm going to put out video blogs, or commonly referred to as a vlog, and give you little tips and little updates and things of that nature. Now, you can go out and go to www.theadvocacynet.com, and you could look over everything we have, and you could find out how to become a member. But I will tell you, membership is very inexpensive, and membership is really the only pathway presently in the marketplace that will proactively protect you from financial victimization, meaning we will stop it before it happens. Why do I know that? Well, to date, we have saved over $6.5 million for our members. $6.5 million that did not end up going out into some form of a fraud or a scam or a predatory sales tactic. That's money that got to stay in the hands of those potential victims. And make no mistake about it, those people would have become victims without the direct help and counseling that we gave them. So that's the value of membership. And I just want you to realize that your best interest is our only concern. We are truly an advocate in this manner. No one else in this field is coming from that position of a true advocate. We're there only to protect you. We're there only for your best interest. And in every financial decision you make, we're there to help you identify your own behavior patterns, identify what's going on with that decision, and help you identify how to make the smartest decision about money. Because at the end, we want you to make smart decisions about money, and everybody can. So go to www.theadvocacynet.com. Check us out, see what all we have. I will also give you my phone number there. You can pick a time and schedule a meeting, and I'd be glad to speak with you directly. So look for us on a daily, maybe a weekly basis, not so much daily, but on occasion, you're going to see several days back to back. I want you to have a magnificent, wonderful 2017. I want you to reach all your dreams and passions and all the goals that you set for yourself. And truly, I want to see you make a difference every single day in the lives of all the people you serve, you work for, you benefit in one way or another. And mostly, I want to make sure that you never, ever become a victim of financial victimization. Thanks for your time.